If you're anything like me, you probably grew up with the idea that college degrees are just this guaranteed gateway to making a ton of money and being able to be rich and just provide for your family and fulfill whatever goals you might have in life. Because, it's a college degree. If you have a college degree, you're probably really smart and you deserve to be making a ton of money. Well, if you're like me, you probably found out that having a college degree doesn't really make you smart. My name is Dr. Unique, and welcome. So, there's something that I want to talk to y'all about, other than college, of course. I don't want to talk about being in college yet. That's going to be another video. But I want to talk to y'all about a couple things that you should know about before you actually go to college. This isn't for people that are 20 years into their career. This is for the kids that are maybe in middle school or they're in high school or they're at the very end of their senior year and they have no idea what they want to do, or they're in middle school and they're thinking, what even is a college degree? This is for those guys. All right. And if you're just here to watch some of the Minecraft gameplay because you don't really care about college, or if you're just here to listen to a guy ramble about stuff, then hey, I'm happy to have you here. So, college degrees. Before you go to college, get this into your mind. College degrees do not guarantee success, and they don't signify success either. They also don't signify how smart you are. College degrees, most of them aren't useful for the career field that you're going into. Let's take a film degree, for example, right? If it's a bachelor's degree in film, you can go through the whole program for 4 years and you'll learn all the ins and outs, all the rules, all the compositing, how to use all the softwares, how to use a camera, all those things. And at the end of it, you'll be in the exact same place as a high school kid that learned how to use Adobe Premiere in high school, which is you both don't have a job, but you both know how to use a camera and Premiere. However, the high school kid has the advantage because he has more time to get a job than you do. I say that to say degrees like that, they don't put you at an advantage in your career. Having a college degree isn't necessarily a disadvantage, but they don't necessarily benefit you like maybe an engineering or a medical, law, business, IT degree, things that are required and hyper specialized in those fields that require you to know all these hyper intricate things that are so imperative to these fields. Those are the types of degrees that I would seriously recommend somebody go to college for. If you want to go do something else, like maybe you don't want to be an engineer or a businessman, maybe you just want to be a welder or pipe fitter or something like that, you can always go to trade school and they'll teach you how to weld, they'll teach you how to pipe fit. And in those schools, you don't spend as much time, you don't spend as much money to get those certifications or those degrees. And right afterwards, after a couple years, you go straight to work and you actually are better off than the dude that spent 5 years having to go through all of these different trainings and go through all these job sites just to learn how to do welding, how to make weld, take weld, and you'll actually be in a better spot and actually have more time to make more money than the other guy. If you don't want to go to trade school and you just want to go straight to work, that's fine. I mean, even if you go work at McDonald's or Burger King or freaking Cane's, Raising Cane's. I need to go get Raising Cane's today. I get it. The job market sucks. Minimum wage doesn't pay enough for you to live in an apartment by yourself, and it's not supposed to. I'll just be honest with you. I hear all the complaints about minimum wage, how minimum wage workers should be paid more. And I get it. It is nice if instead of being paid 7.25 an hour, you'd be paid, 12 bucks an hour. But minimum wage isn't enough for you to live on. It's not meant to be enough. It's a starting point. And whether or not you believe that that starting point should be higher doesn't matter. Regardless, it's the starting point. It's the lowest minimum allowable wage that you can pay somebody. And if you increase that, then you have to increase wages for everybody else, meaning you have to put more money into the economy, meaning you cause inflation, which decreases the value of the dollar, and everything, all the prices go up, yada, 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 all the economic things. I'm not an economics major, I'm an engineer. but you're not at much more of an advantage because you've increased the minimum point. But anyway, that's a whole spiel that I'm not really qualified to talk about. My point is, even if you're not making enough money, find somewhere where you enjoy working at first, then worry about making enough money. All right. Even if you have to go live with 4 or 5 roommates and you're paying $500 a month, if you enjoy what you're doing, then worry about that first. Then you can talk to your employer after you've been working for 6 months, then a year. You could say, hey, are there any higher up positions? Can I get some overtime? Can I do this or that to make more money? And they could probably say, yeah, there's a training program so that you can become a manager, or then you can become a regional manager, or whatever the process was. I don't know about that either because I've worked the same job for the last 2 years at a church as a janitor. There's no advancement in that career. But somewhere else, like my brother who works at Raising Cane's, he's had offers to be a manager because he's been working there for almost 4 years, but he just doesn't want to because he's in college. And he, unlike me, has to pay for school. Every semester, he has to save up his money so that he can pay for his school. He's never had to take out a loan. He's never had to take on student debt, nothing like that. And he's only had a little bit of help from my mom and dad to actually help him pay off his college payment. And I really like that about my brother because he's a hard worker and he's really smart. But he doesn't go to an engineering school. He goes and does something that he enjoys. He loves football. He's loved it his entire life. And he gets to go all over the place from Texas to Alabama, all over Louisiana, going and covering these football games. And he does it, and he doesn't have any debt. He still works at Cane's. He still gets to spend plenty of time with his girlfriend, and he works weekends. He's not having to work 40 hours a week, but he's worked it out because he does what he enjoys. And that's the part you need to worry about most. Do what you enjoy first, then worry about making enough money. He doesn't have a full ride scholarship like I do to an engineering school that will guarantee him a 6-figure salary after he finishes college. He gets a partial scholarship every semester, and then he goes and works weekends at Cane's, and he's able to pay it off every semester. In fact, at one point, he lost his partial scholarship because his grades dropped a little bit too low, but then he took a semester, brought his grade back up, and then he got that partial scholarship back. My dad, he was super proud of him because he's honestly never seen that happen. Out of 1,000 people that lose that partial scholarship, because a lot of people go to college, he's only seen maybe 10 people get it back. That's 1% of people actually get it back after they lose it. So my point is, worry about what you enjoy first. Worry about enjoying where you work at, enjoying the work you do, then worry about making enough money. Because if you hate working where you're at, then there's no point in going to work. The last thing I'll say about college degrees is that they can only benefit you, right? They do take a lot of time and they take a lot of money, especially if you don't have any scholarships. But having a degree on your resume isn't a disadvantage, right? Nobody's going to look at your resume and see that you have a college degree, even if it's in English or history or whatever degree you got, and think, oh man, this guy has a college degree. There's no way we're hiring this guy. No, they're not going to do that. They may not look at your degree and say, oh yeah, we definitely need to hire this guy because he has a degree in underwater basket weaving. But they're not going to look at your degree and say, no, we shouldn't hire this guy. Having a college degree can only be a benefit to you. Another thing you have to think about with college degrees is that they have a significant cost, not just from money, but also time. We'll talk about money first. If you can afford college without going into debt, you should 100% go to college. Avoid debt at all costs. I'm going to be Dave Ramsey here for a second. And I know people don't like Dave Ramsey because he's, quote, old-fashioned, but he started out in real estate, became a multimillionaire, then he went bankrupt, got into a ton of debt. Then he got himself out of debt, learned that he didn't want to go back into debt, and then he became a multi millionaire, learning and teaching people how to not get into debt or how to get out of debt. So he's at least worth listening to. And one of the biggest takeaways that you can get from listening to Dave Ramsey or reading about Dave Ramsey or watching Dave, or however you consume Dave Ramsey content, you should watch Dave Ramsey, by the way, is avoid debt and only take a student loan if you know you can pay it off. If you are going to college and you think, oh, I'll take on $40,000 to $50,000 in student loans to get an art degree, no, don't be ridiculous, because you have to be realistic about what you're actually going to college for. I mean, with all the advancements in AI and for multiple reasons beyond that, you have to understand getting a degree like that and thinking you'll be able to pay off $50,000 worth of debt. That's not realistic. That debt will just be a constant stressor in your life that will constantly have its full weight on you, because you have to worry about paying it off every day for probably the rest of your life if you're really unlucky and if you choose a degree like that. But let's say you're like my dad, who was 20 years into his career in construction, and he said he wanted to get a degree in business management, but he took on a little bit of student loans. Not because he couldn't pay for college at all, but if he did, he'd leave zero money for my mom and him to actually survive on for a few months, and that would put them in a bind. So he took a student loan, then he used it to pay for college, but within a few years after he got his degree, a 4-year bachelor's degree in business management, his student loans were paid off, right? This wasn't a constant overbearing stressor on his life. This was a genuine investment into his career. In that case, I would say, yeah, sure, absolutely, take a student loan because it's an investment into your career. But if you're a kid, you're just starting out in college, you don't have a full ride, and you're thinking you want to get a however much loan, let's say a $20,000 loan, you get into your college degree, you start taking your classes, and then you realize, oh wait, I really don't want to go to college. Well, now you have $20,000 worth of debt that you have to pay off. So what are you going to do? That's why you have to count the cost of going to college. Is college worth the time commitment? If you end up making the same amount of money before you go to college as you would at the end of your college degree, what's the point? Again, back to that film degree. If you're 18 years old and you take 4 years to go to college, but you end up making the same amount of money as an 18-year-old that just went straight into the film industry and started working, well, now y'all are making the same amount of money. So what was the point in actually going to college? Now, if you're just doing and going to college, even as a kid, just because it's something you enjoy, hey, that's perfectly fine. But you have to understand that it's going to be a serious time commitment, not just a financial commitment. And that's a really good transition to my final point in this video. Is this something you actually want to do? Enjoy college. Have fun. Make friends. Join clubs, if you know what I mean. Don't get drunk, don't party all the time, but meet people. Learn things. Do something that will challenge you, but also something that you enjoy. Don't just do something because it's what everybody else does. Don't do something that's easy. Find a degree that will challenge you and force you to learn and work and better yourself. And at the end of it, you can look back on that degree and say, I worked my butt off for this degree. And this is something I seriously enjoyed doing, even when it was hard. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Thank y'all for listening. If you liked the Minecraft gameplay, please leave a like. If you enjoyed what I talked about, please subscribe. See you later.